I attended another multi-faith lighting of the Chanukkah candles in central London. There I encountered some of the same guests and others whose presence revealed their desire to express solidarity with the Jewish community in yet another week of an incomprehensible atrocity, this time on Bondi Beach, on the first night of Hanukkah. I think, like many of us, I am struggling to comprehend what is happening to the Jewish community worldwide and why, when we should be celebrating, marking festivals and special days, sharing the light. Why are the days of Simchat Torah, Yom Kippur, and now Hanukkah punctuated with such callous and vicious violence, with death, bereavement, life-changing injury, and trauma? I am grappling with the question of why a father and son, radicalized by training in another part of the world, would shoot dead a joyful 10-year-old child, Matilda, born to a Ukrainian couple who had emigrated to Australia, and kill 41-year-old Rabbi Eli Schlanger, whose youngest child was born just 2 months ago. Why gun down an elderly Shoah survivor, a couple who tried to tackle one of the gunmen, and 10 other victims, all of whom died? And what of those whose lives have been traumatized and changed by injury from gunshot wounds? How are they processing this violent rupture into their lives that occurred at sunset on one of the most iconic beaches in the world on the eve of the first night of Hanukkah? At the event on Thursday, hosted by the New Movement for Progressive Judaism and attended by representatives from the Council of Christians and Jews and other multi-faith organizations and individuals, I was asked to reflect on the themes of light and hope. What came to mind immediately was a verse from the book of Proverbs. Ner Adonai nishmat Adam, chofes kol chaderei vaten. The verse is usually translated as, the life breath of the human individual is the lamp of the Eternal One, revealing all our inmost parts. It's a beautiful verse, but its density, like our Haftarah, takes some parsing. What is it really saying? It's about the neshama, our breath, the essence of our existence that keeps us alive. When our breath departs, we are no more. But for as long as the breath of life is within us, we live, we are alive. It's also about the soul, that inexplicable part of ourselves that some say lives on after death, the part in which resides our innermost being, the chamber of our thoughts and feelings. And it is about light. Thinking about this verse, I'm reminded of C.S. Lewis, who wrote that we only recognize darkness because light exists. If there were no light in the universe, we should never know it was dark. Dark would be a word without meaning, he wrote. As in this verse, light is a metaphor for goodness, for truth, and for hope. Light reveals the innermost parts of human existence. The word that's used here, chaderei vaten, means like the inner chambers of the belly. And this word, cheder, we use this word cheder to describe religion school, means a chamber, an innermost chamber. It also was used this morning in this morning's Torah portion as Joseph removed himself into an innermost chamber where he went to weep. And again, one could read that metaphorically. He was expressing the deepest parts of his feelings. Light reveals the innermost parts of human existence, the human soul, what we think, what we feel, how we love, how we hate. It shines on our confidence, our resilience, and also on our fear. And there is an inexplicable fear that has grown over these past 2 years, the fear of being noticed, of being singled out as a Jew, of being hated and resented for what we represent and for whom we are. We seek light to understand ourselves and the complexities of our lives and our feelings, to try and understand why evil happens in the world, why there is rupture and grief, violence and destruction. The story of Joseph's life in the Torah opens up this question of incomprehension about why such things happen. Perhaps we understand the jealousy that erupts between the brothers and Joseph in the earlier chapters. Joseph, the dreamer, the favorite of his father, the little prince, spoilt and naive. He brings out the worst in his brothers, their bullying nature, their propensity for violence. Let's kill him and throw him into one of these pits, they say. Their capacity for lying to their father about his disappearance, the callous way in which they leave him in a pit and then go off to eat and decide to sell him as a slave to a passing caravan of traders. And how do they live with their father's grief and inconsolability? Is there no remorse for their actions? Joseph prospers in the house of his master Potiphar to the extent that he's given authority over his household and over all that he owns. It is only when the wife of his master attempts to seduce him and he refuses her overtures that he is arrested and accused as a Hebrew man of toying with her. Twice she refers to Joseph as a Hebrew man and a Hebrew slave, highlighting his status, his foreignness, and difference. Her pride is punctured by the young man's refusal to lie with her, and so he ends up in prison. And the question emerges, what is it about his identity that makes Madame Potiphar focus on his status as a Hebrew and as a slave? These events cast a pall and a darkness over these chapters, the violent and murderous intentions of the brothers, the lascivious arrogance of Potiphar's wife, and the years of famine that will cause death, hardship, and poverty throughout Egypt and Canaan. And yet, throughout all this, there is something indomitable about Joseph's spirit. Several times in the narrative, we are told that God was with Joseph and extended kindness to him and lent him grace in the prison warder's sight. The gift of dream interpretation eventually removes him from prison, and he's elevated to high office, marries, and becomes the father to 2 sons. That he tests his brothers when they come before him, that he wants to teach them a lesson or see the fulfillment of his childhood dreams, is clear. But he is neither angry nor vengeful in his conduct towards them. On the contrary, he is deeply moved by seeing his brothers again, even more so when Benjamin is brought down to Egypt. What is remarkable about Joseph is that he grows and develops as a character in the novella. The author brilliantly captures the controlled, direct speech as he addresses Benjamin, "God be gracious to you, my son," but also through the narrator's voice, which sheds light on Joseph's innermost feelings. So deeply is he stirred and moved by seeing his younger brother that he takes refuge in an inner chamber where he weeps. This week, there is something of this poignant and painful contradiction as we reflect on the events in Australia last Sunday. Outwardly, we light our candles, we sing our songs of praise and triumph, but inwardly, we are weeping tears of loss and incomprehensibility. In the end, some things are simply unfathomable to the human spirit. We look to the light that emanates from something beyond ourselves, from deep within us, and it is this light that drives our faith to find goodness and hope, to search for illumination, and so embody the values in the careful words we speak and the actions we undertake for the good of all the world. Amen.